our podcast is all about your journey in music and how you got to where you are now. Obviously, we'll talk a lot about Within Temptation, if that's cool with you. And yeah. So yeah, I did read that you're obviously from the Netherlands. You want to tell me a little bit about that? And I saw that you moved around quite a bit as a kid.
Yeah, I was born in the Netherlands, and in the center of the Netherlands, in the middle, near Utrecht and Rotterdam, in between of those big cities. But in a very young age, I left the Netherlands also because my parents were expats, and we lived in Indonesia for a long time, and then went to Yemen, and also to Suriname. I've lived 1.5 years almost. And so when I was 10, we turned back to the Netherlands again because my parents thought the schools would be better here for us than some countries we went to. And especially when you go to high school and that kind of education, it's maybe better in the Netherlands than some countries. So they thought, we're going to keep the kids in the Netherlands. My father went on his own, being an expat abroad. And my mom, she took care of us until she was able to join him again.
Wow. So you guys went back. You guys went back to the Netherlands when you were about 10?
10 years old, yes, exactly.
Okay.
But I must say that I did learn a lot while being in the other countries. I did broaden my horizon, that there are so many different cultures, and even within one culture there's so many differences between people, and so it did broaden my horizon, how the world looks like. It's not just the Netherlands, but there's so much more outside, and there's so many different people. So that was good for my upbringing, I guess. And what I also was really nice that when I lived in Indonesia, is that I was only almost 5 years old, and my brother got pocket money. And at that time, we were still living in the cassette time. You know, people were still cassettes, and especially in Indonesia, you couldn't get a legal cassette even if you wanted to. So you got for a little bit of money, you could buy a lot of cassettes. So I said to my parents, I would like to have pocket money as well, and which was quite wise for some person so young.
Right.
I just thought, I want to have pocket money, Mom. Like, okay. And she said, well, no candy. You can buy candy or toys, but you can buy music for it. So
that's cool.
So that's my biggest memory and my most cherished memory of Indonesia, going to the record store every Saturday with my mom and my brother, spending all my money on music. So
wow. Well,
music.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So how about, was this record store, were they getting music from all over the place? Like that seems pretty crazy if they're getting records from.
Yeah, you could do anything you wanted, you know, the newest stuff, old stuff. So you know, my parents also, my mom, when she was in her teens, she would work in the weekends, and she would save most of the money, and for a small part of the wage that she earned, she would buy herself a vinyl. So she passed this on to me in this way by buying cassettes, of course. So I did, and sorry, what was your question again? Because
No, this is perfect. That there really wasn't a question.
No, you just talk. Too much space because I'll talk continuously. I've just been told so.
I love that. No one wants to hear what I have to say.
To say.
They come for you. But that's crazy. So Indonesia, that's bizarre to me that they would I mean, that's awesome that they would have distribution to having those records. Like, so you could get like a Nirvana album or whatever, like
yeah, probably nowadays still, yeah. But you know, there was the early 70s when I lived there, so
sure, okay, so whatever was
But I got ELO, I got the Moody Blues, I got Jeff Wayne, Wars of the World. I got the cassette, still got it. Scared the hell out of me when I put it on because so, but you hear it back in our music nowadays, you know, very epic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I got into different kind of music. I got a lot of music because my
That
parents
way.
liked certain kind of music, my brother liked certain kind of music, and they tried to, oh, let me buy what they liked. And there was one thing I did like myself. That was I saw a movie called Grease at the time, and
Oh
just
yeah.
came out. So I bought that cassette because I really was enchanted by her voice, Olivia Newton-John, and of
Hmm.
course this hunk, John Travolta. And that was really the start of me falling in love with music because of her voice, actually. So I'm getting
Really?
music, yeah, and Eagles, and
Hmm. Wow. And we're always a singer. Do you? When did you start singing?
well, as also in the time in Indonesia, I got a cassette player, but I could also they also have a record button on it, and also a plug to put in a microphone. So
Okay. Yeah.
I could plug in a microphone, so I was singing in front of the mirror and trying to do dances I saw on television of all these amazing musicians and trying to sing along with their music. So that's where it started, and as far as I can remember, that is probably one of my first memories. Also, it's like me always singing.
Oh
Drives me
wow.
crazy. Yeah.
So, and did you like from there? Like, how young were you when you're saying? Oh, you said that's like your earliest memory. Did you? Was it just
Yeah, four or
singing
five.
around the house, or did you? Were you in like a choir or chorus?
No, I started just singing in the house and just singing along with cassettes and in front of the television and
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. I guess that's where it started for most people, and under the shower, of course,
Sure.
always on the shower.
The
But
acoustics of the bathroom.
yeah, well, and after that, when I came back in the Netherlands, when I went to high school, in the first year, I started a group of people that wanted to make music. We started
Hmm.
a school band, and later on I joined contests in
Hmm.
school. They were organizing that, and I was really curious how people would react to my voice. And when I was 14, I remember that I was going on my bike to the music school, and they had a new program called How to Be in a Band, which was pretty revolutionary, I guess,
Hmm.
because instead of going to the music school, doing it in the class or the more the most uh, normal way that most people know it is
Hmm.
getting to your notes, playing the flute, and I refused doing that. I said to my parents, "Oh, you go to the music school. That's good for you. You start, from nothing, and then you finally can sing." And I said, I don't want to start with the flute. I want to start singing immediately.
Hmm.
Learn all of that. I don't want to read from a paper the notes. I just want to sing immediately and the songs that I like. How to Be in the Band was exactly that. You could do in the band whatever you wanted to, and they would help you, understand to read the notes and just play immediately the song you love, from U2 to the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Hmm.
songs of Nirvana, anything you loved, you were able to play, and that was amazing. So I remember being on my bike thinking, oh, if I don't dare to do this class, then if I don't dare to participate, I will never stand for an audience, and I will never know how it is to play in a band and make music for myself.
Hmm.
So and I ended up there, and then eventually they asked me like, okay, what kind of instrument do you want to play? And I said, keyboards. I never had any intention to play any keyboard or piano or whatever. I only the only thing I really wanted to do was sing, but I
Hmm.
was too shy to say so because people have a different. Well, they might think something of you when you say I want to sing. They think you will love the limelight, the
Oh
attention.
right. Yeah. It's just like an ego thing.
Yeah, an ego thing. I said, no, it's not. That's not what it is for me. I still find it very difficult to talk for a big audience. I'm not. I'd rather have some other band member do it. So I was really happy when Robert was still in the band at the time, because he was happy to talk to the audience, and he did it in a very funny way also, because would make people laugh, and yeah, it was entertaining. So, and when he left the band, I had to really learn that also later on in the band. So, but that to go back to the story, sorry, I'm going from left to right, is I joined that band, that How to Be in the Band project, and
Mm-hmm.
there was also another band already playing at the music school. They heard me sing and say, I want to start a real band outside of music school, and would you like to be our singer? But they were just only men, and
Mm-hmm.
in the project there was a lot of girls as well, but these were just only guys, and they were like 5-6 years older than me, and I was 14. And so I was like, okay, if you want to. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
But I was flattered, I was flattered. I said, okay, let's do this. And we started this cover band called Kashiro.
Okay.
Actually, it was supposed to be Karoshi, which means like kamikaze pilot, I think.
Edgy.
A bit too much edge to it. So we said, like, okay, maybe we should call it Kashiro. That was also had a nice ring. Didn't mean anything, but it sounded interesting. So we could make up our own story around that.
Yeah.
I played with them for I think five years or something,
All
and then
covers? You
I
said
met
they're a cover
Robert.
band?
Oh, yeah, cover band. There's some kind of bug here. I don't know.
No.
Sorry.
It's okay. Would you play out or do like those really long sets, like the 4-hour set at some bar or?
Yeah, those kind of things. Well, we didn't perform that much, but we could play for at least 2.5 hours, and we
Wow.
did a few times even had like this. Well, there was this project between villages, and the village that I lived in had like a soul-made kind of village in Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
So they would send it to us, and they could perform in our town, and we could go to Yugoslavia in their town and
Oh,
perform
cool.
locally. And they had a festival. We played there, and actually it was a big. Well, for us it was like like a big adventure going outside of the Netherlands.
Right. Yeah. You're traveling, playing music. That's kind of a
Yeah,
cool thing, right?
yeah, it was cool for the first time, and Robert joined us because well, my parents didn't like me going alone with these guys. They didn't really meet the guys that much, and so didn't know what kind of types they were, and so they said, "You're gonna take your boyfriend with you." I was like,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Wait, I can leave with my boyfriend and go to a different country? Let's do this.
Everything's like, okay, we'll the expenses will pay for him, and then we'll
Yeah.
know we'll be safe.
Well, how did you meet Robert?
I met him in school actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because in school I also started with a few people a school band and a party commission, so we could start parties, organize party for school, like
Mm-hmm.
and like prom kind of thing, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And we were in the school band, so yeah, it was a very creative semester that I was in. So it was really nice to see all these people being creative and besides school doing other stuff they like doing. So all the creative people all found each other in the band or in the which it's very American actually, because when I watch high school movies in the past,
Mm-hmm.
you had also like this class you could do projects outside of school
Mm-hmm.
in America. Well,
Yeah,
that's not.
like they're like extracurricular activity type things. Yeah.
We don't have it in the Netherlands.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, you have to do that yourself outside of school, and your parents have to pay for that. So it's just school in school, and you have maybe once a week a music lesson, but it doesn't it's not really music lesson. It just tells you what kinds of types of music there are. You have to sing some songs. That's it. But it's not like they learn you something substantially. So it's but I met Robert, and the fact that we were actually very active outside of school was really special. And
Mhm.
a lot of people were surprised, everybody loved the same kind of passion for music or theater. And so I met Robert in there because I was performing on stage, and he was there. He came halfway the semester, and he was we were only allowed to perform in church because it was the only place where they had a stage actually.
Oh,
And
really?
put into yeah. But then it also had to be Christmas songs and those kind of things. So they had to so they could well that there was a reason for people to be in church,
Hmm.
to listen to a band, then it should be like for Christmas or Easter or something like that.
Right.
Just performing John Lennon songs. That
Right.
so yeah, well, and it was fun. And then he saw me. She can sing, that's nice. And so he joined the school band to get to know me, and eventually became, yeah, well, a couple,
Hmm.
and still are after so many years.
That's so amazing. Yeah. It's so, and you'll say you guys met, yeah, high school, you said early on, that's high school days. And then he would travel with you across, with your cover band. How did you guys eventually start playing music together?
Well, he was already in a band that made a similar kind of music like Within Temptation does today.
Hmm.
And this is early 90s, 91, 92. And when he started The Circle, and he started Within Temptation like kind of music.
Hmm.
So with heavy guitars. He actually came from the death metal background. He really loved death metal, and
Oh, okay.
listened to the most heavy band there was, and felt like,
Hmm.
I want to do something different. And then he felt like, okay, maybe I should combine it with more melody. And there was a band called Paradise Lost. I don't know if you know them.
Hmm.
Yeah, you probably do.
Yeah, I know
And
them.
yeah, and they were one of our eye openers to what was actually more or less the foundation of the music we were making when we released our first album. Because they had an album, I think it was on the album um, Lost in Paradise. I think the album was called, and they had one song on it with an opera singer, and that was like for Robert the idea, like, okay, wow, that's nice, really, this female vocal. And well, where in heavy music you could only mostly hear only men's voices, and he was
Hmm.
in combination with the growling voice, he felt like maybe I should use like female vocals as well. And but then in a different way again, because we also loved very much music like Clannad and Dead Can Dance. So in combination of, you could think of the death metal music he was from, and at that time, he had a lot of Clannad music, which was yeah, it was music on its own, but in the combination of those two wasn't very a familiar one yet.
Hmm.
And, so he and our keyboard player now, Martijn Spierenburg, started the band The Circle, and started making that music. And Martijn was more like liking the Clannad kind of music, and Robert liked it also, but Robert was always from the heavy music, the guitars and the darker part to the music. And but they found this way of working together. And so anyway, they started the band The Circle. Eventually they kicked Robert out, and I just met Robert, and I was supposed to be singing on their record. I did sing 2 songs, and they maintained they kept one song on the album. And yeah, well, to keep this short, because it's a very long history. But eventually, the band was called The Circle. They changed the name into Voyage, and Robin and I started a new band called Within Temptation. So,
Okay.
so
And
that's,
then,
and then eventually the keyboard player from The Circle and Voyage came later on after Mother Earth back to us. And well, almost, there's if you would see the original people from The Circle, then it's 3 of them, for if you include me, still in the band. Robert, Martijn, the keyboard player, the bass player was always there, Jeroen, and me.
mhm.
Yeah, and The Circle started around 92.
Wow. And then did you change your name like before I did read something where before you put out your first record, you changed your name or something like that?
We're called The Portal for a short while, and then we started officially Within Temptation.
What was the reason behind changing the name?
Well, The Portal didn't give any emotion, and Temptation always, well, felt like it would raise eyebrows, but it's
Hmm.
very, I think also one of those things that we did in the beginning, not thinking it would ever become a band that anyone would notice. So we didn't pay too much attention to the names, like not enough, because we
Hmm.
didn't choose a very big name. We rather had a name like U2, which always fits on the bill, and you can make it as big as you want.
Sure.
It's so thin and fitting on it. So yeah, that was I'm remembering also that, well, we felt like Temptation was nice, but then somebody said, yeah, maybe we should call it Within Temptation. I think it was you. And but afterwards, if you would really do it correct in English, of course, it would be Into Temptation. Yes, Within Temptation. But from the Dutch perspective, it makes sense. It means like more you're surrounded by temptation, and so it's, but Within Temptation doesn't of course exist, but it's like a poetic maybe approach to how you would say something in English, I hope.
Right. I love that. Yeah. Well, okay. So what was like, when did the ball start rolling for you guys? Like, obviously the success you have now is beyond, but like when you're first going, what were the first things that started happening for you where you started seeing some traction?
Well, already in the circle was that the band already got a lot of attention, but by the time we started with Temptation, there were several bands doing really well in Europe, and were getting some attention, and so were we. We were picked up immediately. We were immediately signed. We had several record companies interested when we brought out a demo.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Just from knowing people from the circle and the previous bands?
because they already, it was a new sound at the time.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and it did, and you saw a lot of people being interested because, like I said, the death metal was at its peak, and people were searching for a step beyond that, something new that maybe still had a death metal in it, but in a different way. And this was with a lot of melody. So I guess it was somehow one of the evolution steps after that. And because of the circle, we got a lot of attention immediately, like I said, and we were signed immediately by somebody who was working for a metal magazine. He also had a record company, which was a bit strange, of course, because he was working for a metal magazine, and every demo he made, demo of the month, was picked up by a lot of people, because at that time a lot of people were still reading magazines, and the way to get to new music, as internet wasn't that big yet, of course. And so he signed us, and he made us demo of the month, and he signed us. So immediately.
Wow.
And he had, of course, the magazine, which had a lot of subscribers. He had immediate access to everybody who might like it also. So he knew everybody in the Netherlands who was working for festivals. He just had a very good network. So when we signed up with him, we were playing. The fourth show we ever did was on Dynamo Open Air. I don't know if you know that festival, but that was the biggest metal festival in Europe at a certain point when we started.
That's what, the third, you said, fourth show you ever played as a band?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah. we didn't know what was going to happen to us, but when we eventually played on that festival, it was like in front of 10,000 people in a tent, and he did an amazing job promoting us on that festival. So when we came there with our bus, we came there by bus, driving it ourselves, parked our yellow van, because it was the only color we could get. It was the only van that we could get, and they appeared to be all yellow.
Like a school bus.
Yeah, like a school. Exactly. Between all those big nightliners, all black, we were the only yellow bus. So you could, here we are.
Yeah, right.
Felt like a little bit ridiculous, but yeah, we found this. We could also see the humor in it. And so anyway, when we drove to the festival and we entered the festival, they had made walls, so you could, for the backstage, and before you would enter the festival and eventually also the backstage, every wall had our poster on it, every one. So if people would walk around the festival, they would see our picture everywhere, our album picture. It was everywhere. So that was amazing marketing, of course. And
Mm-hmm.
we eventually played during the day, not on a very super time schedule. It was like, I think it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was completely full. 10,000 people were able in there, and were outside even more people waiting to see us
Oh
do
my
the band.
gosh.
It was the most horrible show we ever did, because I didn't
Really?
yeah, because we were so enthusiastic. We were like, oh, this is amazing, wow, like overwhelmed and nervous. And you must imagine, we were, well, didn't have much experience on stage either.
Right.
So I didn't even know how a monitor worked. So it's like I was just trying to survive with my earplugs in, and everybody else as well, because we hadn't worked much with, we didn't have money for a sound engineer on stage, the monitor
Mm-hmm.
guy. So we had to, I think like 15 minutes before the show, it's like, okay, what do you want to have on your ears? And what do you on the fills and everything. And we were like, I don't know, my voice. I don't know.
A guitar? Yeah.
Do something. Just try something. We'll see.
Yeah.
And so for us, it was like chaotic, but the audience still loved it somehow. And I still don't understand. And until today, I don't understand why people liked it, but probably because we were so enthusiastic, and we did make of the little money that we made. We did put a lot of effort into the stage set already. We, had special clothes. We did something with stage decor. We had some lights arranged and stuff, even though it was during the day. So we did do our effort, and I think it came across, and people already knew the songs, because the album had just come out and everything, and because of the good promotion, a lot of people had already bought it, so people were singing along already, and it was amazing. So that was a very special time, and I'm really happy it turned out that way, because it could also be the last show we ever did, of course.
Right.
Shitty show, shitty
Yeah.
band.
Great marketing, terrible band.
So we were like, okay, like, I don't know how we survived it, but we were still enthusiastic even when we left the stage. It was just looking back on it years later, it's like, oh my God, how embarrassing. But yeah, we survived, and people liked it, even though.
Well, it obviously translated into the second record, because the second record, Mother Earth, was, platinum in a couple areas and went gold in a country.
But it's when we started the band, we never had the intention. That's something I have to explain. We don't have a rich history of a lot of bands from the Netherlands who made it outside of the Netherlands. So we never thought we were able to make this like something we could live off, like make a living out of it. And so we all concentrated on school and getting our degrees, and do this as like a hobby band, but then do it like, in a maximum hobby
Right.
as possible. So yeah.
When did it stop? Do you remember when it became like a career? Like when it switched from being a hobby and that to, I can quit my job now and we're gonna this is it, we're doing the band full time?
Yeah, I can remember that very clearly, because the fact that when we released Mother Earth, the venues became bigger, and still they were sold out, and they were sold out like weeks before. So it was really,
wow.
And that was a sign on the wall, like, okay, we don't get any airplay, we don't have a video out, we don't have anything except for the magazine that's telling them where we're going to play, and a very basic internet site. So it's it was just word to mouth. People would turn up, and when the album came out, it just went really well, and we had already sold, I think, with Enter at least 15, 17, or maybe 20,000 albums already without anything, and that was a lot for a metal band in the Netherlands. So,
Yeah.
On our own, and eventually it was we had this program on the television called The Box. We had made a video ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to put us on The Box because it was a very self-made video. We didn't have any money for it, so
Mm-hmm.
but we tried something, but before we said like, okay, if you want to see our video, call The Box. But we were not even up for. They didn't never put us up for selection, so people couldn't even not see our video. So they called us back and saying, okay, would you please get us off your site that they can call our number, because we're going crazy here. Everybody's calling us and we don't even know your name. We don't even know who you are, and you're not even up for selection. So please get it off your site that they can call us, so they can see the video eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. A bit surprised that they would call us about that. And without telling us, they put us up for selection like 2 months later.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even know it until we saw the video pass by on The Box while just sitting in our living room, like, hey, that's our song.
Oh, wow. You just happened to catch it?
Yeah, they have to sketch it. And then all these, people that liked our music started calling in, and they would have this top 5 every day in every city. And we would be in every top 5 every day the next weeks, 2 weeks or something. And because of it, we ended up in this playlist on the radio, the top 50. They had to play that. Doesn't matter if people didn't like you or didn't fit the format. They had to play you if it came in there. And we did. We entered at number 22, I think.
Wow.
And then started playing us on the radio. That's how we got our breakthrough, more or less, to the audience. Because of that, other people started to notice us and started buying the record. And I think within a week, we were number 2. The only one above us was Shakira.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So, and that was in 2002, January.
Yeah, what a totally different lane. You have Shakira and then you have you guys.
Ice Cream. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so because Ice Queen was the hit, right? That was the song that really got the radio and the video and everything else, right?
Yeah, but I must say that Mother Earth was probably even a bigger hit because of the fact that because it reached more people. Ice Cream was a little bit of a strange song, and I think Mother Earth appealed to. It was also around Christmas time and everything, so people did appeal to that kind of music. And of course, at that time, you had Lord of the Rings movie, so it did. You had this epic. This epic feeling in movies. You saw it and you could hear it in music, and everything came together at a certain point, I guess. So people understood the music also because of the movies somehow, which were also original. Was one of the things that really inspired us when we started writing music. So it all, come together. It made sense somehow. And so Mother Earth and Ice Cream were the big
ones from
moments, for us.
And the next record you guys put out was The Silent Force, and you switched labels on that album.
Yeah, because we realized, the Netherlands is a small country, and if you sign in the Netherlands, then it's very hard to get out of the Netherlands. Because people all have their own divisions, from every records company. So they want to, they're very difficult in giving up rights. So you can go out of the Netherlands and go to a different, for instance, if you have a record company here in the Netherlands and you would like to release your album in Germany, for instance, it's a very difficult thing because it's all about, a little bit about ego, but also about rights, because they want to earn the credits and the money for it. And if releasing stuff from out the Netherlands is difficult. So we wanted to sign up in at a record store, a record company outside of the Netherlands. So we chose a record company in Germany, which was also a rock label. And so they could understand that we were a bit strange, and they would accept the fact that we were doing our own thing. And it didn't us that much. And so we signed up with Gun Records, and it really was a good fit. So they had Guano Apes. They had, I don't know if you know Guano Apes.
I don't.
Very very good band, but they were from a very big band in Europe at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we signed up with them, and it was easier to get to other countries, be released in different countries, because they're a bigger country themselves, and you would get more attention because of that. Because if a big country says release this band, they will release it. But when you're from the Netherlands, you don't have the same power. So that's the reason why we signed up with another record company outside of the Netherlands, and after that we still are, and still did. And that helped us also to get known to the rest of Europe, because of God, we were allowed to. Was easier to tour with other bands. For instance, they had also Paradise Lost.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Inspired us when we started making music, and we went on tour with them, and that was really, for us, it was like, that was so special.
Because you're such, being fans, that must have been pretty cool. Yeah.
We learned a lot during that tour. I can remember that we had a stage set up, and I remember that Paradise Lost, they just had a backdrop. And we're like, they only have a backdrop. It was a cool backdrop though, but it was only a backdrop.
Yeah.
Every morning we would come in with all our pieces of wood. We had to carry that ourselves, It was like huge stage. And it was like these church windows we had made of wood. And
wow.
Yeah, and they were not easy to set up. So it took hours to get everything ready. And, Paradise was like, whoop, just like 5 minutes, it's hang there. And it's like, and I remember them making fun of us, which I find very funny also still, because I can imagine they were thinking they've lost their mind, like,
right.
Why bring this stage set up? Looking back on it, I feel a little bit like Spinal Tap, like.
Right.
But it was a really nice tour, and we learned a lot from them, and it was fun, and and it did. It was the next bridge, getting
the next step.
And next step again.
And which brought you to the heart of everything, which was the next step, right? Because now you're on Roadrunner Records, which is giving you the US and everything else in between, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I always. Looking back on it, I'm really happy that we did everything step by step, because I think becoming, known to the mainstream in the Netherlands, for instance, the success was immense here in the Netherlands and Belgium. And for us, that was like life changing. We couldn't be on the streets in supermarkets or anything because people would recognize us. And I think if that would have happened to us worldwide, I don't know if everybody was up for that, a lot of
where they weren't ready for it.
No, mentally, it's if you're young, I can imagine it's heavy. But I think even on our age, we were 26 when it happened. I think it was already heavy for us, and I can only imagine a Billie Eilish, or I can't speak for other people, of course, but at 26, I found it already very heavy. You had no identity. Everybody knew you. It's like everybody knew who you were and had an opinion about you. And we, even though we were a little bit older, it was nice that we had the experience of working for a company for a certain time, that we had our degree, something to fall back on. And I remember also 2 band members leaving the band because they said, like, it's too much for us. Like, so that we could do this step by step, going country by country, winning hearts, like I said at the time. It's something I'm happy that we did it step by step, instead of like being world famous in one,
right, like the slow.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy. So, and for us, it was really like a breath of fresh air, going to different countries where we still had to fight for our place on a festival, and it was also nice to fight for something and convince people and trying to win hearts for your music.
Yeah, instead of having like a hit, like you said, like you could have a hit, you could have had a huge hit on Enter, and then you burned out and been done in 3 years. Now you've got 20 plus years as a band.
Yeah, and we learned so much going it step by step, and I'm actually really glad that it happened that way, instead of being world famous. compared to other bands probably. And you know, and we still have some countries we want to conquer. So Iceland, for instance, or there's still
Well,
countries we haven't visited. So
oh, there's a
yeah,
few places you haven't played.
yeah, there's still some countries we haven't been. South
Is
Africa.
what's the number? What's the first one that you, or what's the most hopeful country you'd like to play? Like, what's the one that you haven't played that you can't wait to go to?
The countries I would love to play, and you know, we've been asked to come to Australia many times, but somehow we weren't able to fit it in our tour yet. But it's still on my list, and a lot of band members as well. So it's sometimes also that you can't do certain countries because you have to make you know, a tour work, and sometimes it becomes too long for too many people, and you know, it's like those kind
Yeah,
of things.
I've always heard that Australia is kind of the hardest country to tour because it's massive and there's only like what four major cities that aren't close to each other.
Exactly, and the time difference, and you have to at least you know, be there for a week before you can even do a show, because you have to, yeah, the time difference is such,
Adjust to the time.
will be amazing, very heavy. So
Yeah.
that is already like a barrier for everyone to take.
Totally. Well, like you said, you guys have had quite the career. I mean, 20 plus years, and you're still releasing songs, and you've got the most recent is the Purge, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so tell me about that. Is this going to be the what, the eighth album? Are you guys working on like the eighth record, or?
We are working, but it's what we've decided actually before this whole Corona crisis started.
Mm-hmm.
Like that we wanted to release song by song without having an album,
Mm-hmm.
like because
Like a bunch of singles.
yeah, but we haven't even written a complete album yet, so it's not like we have the album and then we're going to release some songs. No, we're just writing songs and releasing them at the
Oh,
same time.
cool. Yeah.
So that's something different that we haven't done before, and now it's the best time also to do so, I guess, because um, although we had already planned it, we're going to continue writing songs and releasing them until we are able to tour again. And eventually there will be an album where those songs we have released already will be on, but we don't know when.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Yeah.
so it's
No one does.
way of releasing, and
Right.
it's up to now it's really something that we like. So it's because it's sometimes also a bit hard that you write a nice song or a song that you really believe in, and it's going to be on an album 2 years later. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time for us to write an album and to release it. Yeah,
With
looks a
with
better way for us.
yeah, well, with coronavirus, were you guys on tour, or what was the band, and what were you guys up to
Well,
right
we were,
prior to the lockdown?
yeah, well, actually, we were going on tour with Evanescence to do this co-headline tour. It's
Oh,
really
wow.
yeah, and we had a really big tour scheduled, and it's like 2 weeks before we were going into rehearsals, everything was shut down. So, but everything's been postponed now for the
Hmm.
second time. Hopefully, it won't be a third time, and that we it's
Right.
yeah, it's postponed until September next year. So hopefully, there will be a vaccine that works for everyone, and that we're able to be on stage again.
Yeah, it seems like they're, fingers crossed, getting close. I mean, from what I'm reading, but who knows what that means?
Yeah, there's still and buts, and that's the only.
Yeah. But I mean, states like California and countries like, I mean, where you guys are, they're re-shutting everything down again. So it's scary. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't look
hope,
hopeful. Eh?
yeah. I know you think it is, and then it's like, oh, okay. The flat and the curve comes back to like, it's coming
Yeah,
back up again. So it's
it's coming back every time.
wow. Well, so you guys weren't quite on the road yet. I mean, that's awful that it shut down when during rehearsals, but I've talked to some bands that, they're trying to scramble to get back to their country or wherever they're from, or they're across the world. And
The way it was good that it happened before the tour started. So, but we're set to go when we're allowed to, because everything's finished. The stage setup is finished. Everything is ready to go. Actually, still.
wow. Okay. Well, so you guys released Entertain You and the Purge. Those are the two most recent songs.
Singles, yes,
And
exactly.
were those songs written and recorded during the past year, during this quarantine?
The Purge was, but Entertain was already recorded in the video also before the Corona started.
Well, so with the Purge, was that a song that you and Robert wrote like at the house, stuck inside during
Yeah,
coronavirus?
well, this is mostly coming from him, this song, I must
Mhm.
say. Um, yeah, we did. And we were able to go to Sweden during the holidays to record it over there. Our producers living over there. So, but the guitar players could record at home.
Mhm.
Everybody has a home studio. So that's easy. We can continue writing. That's something that's good in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. What about like live streaming the songs or anything? Like, do you and Robert play them at all, like on Instagram Live, or is it whatever? Or not?
With entertaining, we did play it a few times live acoustically, but and we did also a streaming something for the streaming. We did
Okay.
acoustic show, but it's not really our kind of music. We like it to
Right.
do a few acoustic songs where we actually play and with an audience. Otherwise, it's one big video you're making, and it doesn't. You don't get any energy back, and
Mhm.
you need that energy to perform well, to my opinion, for
Yeah.
us, yeah, as a band.
Yeah, I must, because I mean, you guys have such a rad, like such an epic sound. To strip it completely back to acoustic must be
Yeah, it's
difficult.
different, and people do like it when we do it acoustic, but
Hmm.
it's not where our passion lies. We like to have the heavy guitars and everything,
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
going up.
I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really, really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So
We booked with all these bands and trying to do the podcasts and everything. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much again for doing this. I do have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
for inspiring, yes. Well, there's one thing I always say to people because I think that's the most important is find something that you believe in yourself, what you love making. Find that sound, find that kind of type of music that fits you, but also try to be original, different, and find the differences and that uniqueness in things that suit you, not like something that you make up, like, okay, that's going to look it's going to raise some eyebrows or something, but something that you feel comfortable with, because when you eventually choose for something, it will, well, it determines your image, it determines everything from the start. And yeah, as long as you stay close to what you love and like, it will you will make a chance. There's a chance you might break through and reach those masses. Who knows?
Bringing it backward.